I'll tell the timeshare story. Okay? I've told this before. If you've heard it before, forgive me. But a lot of people haven't heard it, and this is probably... I know Redbox has been waiting for this for a while. And this is a long portion of this stretch for the flight here. Woohoo! So, all right, so here's how this worked out. Yeah, that's awesome anime. Good evening, John. That's awesome anime. I saw your pictures. It was really cool. So, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off the sound effects, okay? I'm going to turn off the sound effects while I'm telling this story, just so we're not constantly interrupted by sound effects, okay? And yeah, Sebastian, you might be right. G.I. Joseph, good evening. So, my wife and I went to Las Vegas, I think it was probably 2 to 3 years ago. I forgot exactly how long ago, because we've gone now like 4 times, maybe 4 or 5 times. And we were checking into the Flamingo, and when we got in line, we had to wait for a while, and we were really hoping that when we arrived, we would get an upgrade of something for our room. When we had checked in the year before, we went to the Cosmopolitan, and we got an upgrade, and it was unbelievable. We had a whole suite with a balcony. It was just it was a 1,000 square foot suite in Vegas. It was almost as big as our house. We don't have a big house. So we ended up going to the Flamingo, and we were thinking maybe there's a chance we can get another room upgrade. So, I think we had, this would have been our first time ever at the Flamingo, because we would have known better if we'd been to the Flamingo before. So, so we're waiting in line to check in at the Flamingo, and we get all the way to the front of the line. And right as we get to the front of the line to get ready to talk to the person at the counter, another lady motions for us and says, I can take you over here. But she's coming out of a room that says, like, platinum. So, okay, we're not going to turn that down. Who knows what, maybe that's our upgrade. So we go into this room, and she's, checking us in, and we're thinking, this is getting ready to happen. We're getting ready to get a room upgrade. And we're talking. I'm really trying to, just be as nice as possible. And we were in there for, 10 minutes. And I'm waiting. I keep waiting, thinking, okay, she's getting ready to, spring this on us, congrats, you have, the penthouse or whatever, something. And then she just hands us our room key and says, have a great stay. I'm like, dang. So, okay. So we walk out the doors of that room, because it wasn't even, it was right next to where you would check in. So we walk out those doors, and we're starting to kind of get a feel for where the elevators are to get to our room. And we literally walk 10 feet, and there's a guy in a suit with a name tag, and he asks us if we're looking for the elevators. And we say, yeah. And he says, they're right back there. Are you all... I noticed you walked out of the platinum room. You all must be high rollers or something. Clearly, we don't exude high roller status when we're walking around. So we were like, no, they just, pulled us in there. And then he said, what if I told you I could do something for you? I could get you some free tickets and stuff. And we had already been to Vegas enough that we were already leery of anything, because we've seen timeshare people before, just not in that hotel. And so I could have easily just walked away, but there was something that made me say, well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? So they kind of hooked us, and he said, I can get you tickets to a Cirque du Soleil show. I can get you tickets to the High Roller, which is the huge Ferris wheel they have. Let me turn on my mix. He said, I can get you tickets to a buffet. What's up, Thorne? How you doing? And literally, how long y'all in town for? Exactly, OJ. And so he said, here's what I can do. If you will sign up to attend a timeshare presentation, then we can get you those rewards. And obviously right then we could have just turned our heads and just said thanks, but no thanks. We're just we just want to do our own thing. But curiosity wanted to know, okay, so what exactly is it? I mean, are you asking us to hang out for 30 minutes? No, I know, Redbox. It is. This story is going to go in a little bit different direction. You'll see. So he says, if we pay in cash $20 for the both of us, 20 for me, 20 for my wife, in cash, at that counter, they'll give us a receipt that we are allowed to attend the timeshare presentation whenever we want while we're in town. And it's 2 hours, is what he said. It's 2 hours. And they'll give you your stuff at the end. And we said, well, what are we going to get? He said they'll give you 2 Cirque du Soleil tickets, 2 high roller tickets, and 2 buffet tickets. Well, the Cirque du Soleil tickets are like $180. They're like $90 each. The high roller tickets were like $40 each, so that was like $260. And the buffet was like $40 each. So it was like $340. So I was like, so we can pay $40, spend 2 hours in a timeshare presentation, and get $340 worth of stuff. Let's just pay the $40, and maybe if we change our mind, okay, they got us for $40, but at least we don't lose hours while we're here, So they want to know what kind of credit card you have. They don't want to know the number. They just say, just tell us, do you have a MasterCard, Visa, whatever it is. And you can just say, I have a MasterCard, and they'll write it down. Okay, you got your MasterCard. Because they don't want to waste time with you. Give them the $40. They see, we give them our names, all that stuff. So we walk to the elevators and go up to the room, and I'm already having doubts. What we decided was that we were going to sign up for a time slot the very next morning at 9 a.m. because I knew we probably wouldn't even be up at 9 a.m. Thorn, the next airport is SBRF. So we knew that we weren't even going to be up at that time of day the next morning. So, okay, let's do a timeshare presentation. And we're up in the hotel room, and we're just sitting there, and I'm looking at my wife, and she's like, did we just make a mistake? And I'm like, I don't know. I said, let's research it. Let's Google it. Let's find out what we're in for, because we don't know. So I'm looking on my phone up in this room, overlooking the strip, thinking, I'm starting to dread the idea of getting up and going to a presentation the next morning. And I'm reading on my phone what people's experiences are at these timeshare presentations, and what they're saying is, you'll get your rewards, your gifts, whatever. They'll give them to you. You just have to make sure when you go that you are adamant that you say no and stick to your guns. Just say no. Don't give them your credit card number, and don't give them your social security number for any credit checks. So I knew those important things if we were going to do it. And the presentation was at a Harrah's casino, which was literally a 4-minute walk. I mean, it was so close to where we were. Apparently, Harrah's is like the Death Star of this timeshare company. It's like the evil headquarters, it's where they're based out of. So I talk about it, and actually my wife is more like, let's just go. Let's just do it. So I go, okay. So we, had dinner and everything that night, and the whole time I'm thinking about it, knowing we're going to have to get up early, and I've got to be ready for this, because I just don't know, and I want to be mentally ready for it. So we wake up the next morning and we're walking to it. And the whole time we're walking to it, I'm just like, we need to turn around. We need to turn around. This is such a terrible idea. This is a bad idea. And we walk into the Harrah's Casino and we go up on like the second floor and we find out where it is. And I'm telling you, when we open the door, it's just a ton of couples. There are so many couples sitting in chairs in this room, and they're all getting coffee and they're all talking. I mean, there must have been 40 people. 40 people, you know. That's the amount of people that... Is it over? Did you win, OJ? What are they time-sharing? Yeah, like a hotel. Hotel that you have access to for like 2 weeks of the year. Well, GGOJ sucks. So dumb. So when we walk up to the counter in this room where all these couples are sitting, they want to make sure it's us. So they want to match the names that we gave the day before. And they want to make sure the type of credit card we say we have is the same one we told them we had the day before. But I made sure to put my thumb over my credit card number when I showed it, because I didn't want them seeing any of my numbers. And showed them my license, but I covered my address. Just to show that it was my name. So it all, and that's what they wanted. They just want to make sure you're who you are and that you do have a card. They don't want to know anything else at that point. So we go back and sit down, and everybody's getting their coffee, and I see these like timeshare agents like walking towards couples and introducing themselves. Like, hey, I'm Bill, blah, blah, blah. How are you all doing? And you're blah, blah. I'm like, oh God. So I'm looking at my wife and I'm like, you know, who are we going to get? What kind of person are we going to get? Are we going to get like a very old, slower person? We get a young person that looks like they're on their first day? Are we going to get like a grizzled veteran? Are we going to get someone that looks like they're not happy to be there? Like, what kind of person are we going to get? And this guy walks up to us, and he looks like he's in his early 20s. And he literally looks like someone that would be in the group that I teach. He looks like someone that I would have taught. So I'm like, okay, all right. So he introduces himself to us, and he says, "Do y'all wanna go get some breakfast?" Because they said they would give us free breakfast. So spoiler, when I went into this meeting, into this presentation, I told myself, I'm not going to give them any information about who I am and what I do outside of this. I don't want them to know anything about me. I'm just going to be like, I'm just here for the 2 hours. Give me my rewards. I'm going to listen to what you have to say. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to walk out. That's all I want to do. So I'm kind of playing like coy. I'm quiet. I'm not saying much. I didn't want breakfast. I didn't even want to eat. So we walk in there, and my wife gets breakfast. She gets like some potatoes or something, and put it on a tray, and we walk into this room that looks like what you would see in a boardroom. It's kind of dark. There's like 20 chairs. There's like a projector screen. It looked like something you'd see, in an office building. So we sit down, my wife starts eating, and the guy's introducing himself. He wants to know, I'm not going to spoil it, Nap. I'm not spoiling a Nap. He wants to know just a little bit about us and, where are we staying, whatever. Just small talk. And he can tell that I don't want to talk. And he says, I can't remember the exact thing, but he kind of looks at me and he says, I get the feeling you're a little leery on everything. And I was like, I'm just here to listen, And so we really didn't get to talk for more than like 2 minutes, because then, trust, this is the Seneca. I'll show you. We really didn't get to talk too much because the main guy of this presentation walks in the room and immediately goes up to the front. They close the door, and then two of the agents, like when I say agents, they're just salesmen, they stand in front of the door, like literally like using their bodies to block the door so no one can leave, like just to like go to the restroom or anything. I mean, they wouldn't care, but I have a feeling that if you needed to step out for even 5 seconds, they would ask you to just leave permanently because they don't want you to miss a thing. I gotta see. Okay, I have to descend. Hold on. Let me descend. So, what's up, Bunny? How are you doing? All right, we are descending. So, we all have name tags on. They made us wear name tags. And I remember my wife tried to take her hair and kind of cover the tag because for the next 45 minutes, Bobby, sound effects are off for now, so I can tell my story. So for the next 45 minutes, this guy gives us the timeshare presentation. And he is as aggressive as you can be. He wants to see our names on our name tags so he can call us out. He wants to be like, come on, Brian, you know what I mean. When you go on vacation, how much money do you spend? Emily, tell me, Emily, how much money do you spend on a vacation? Bob, have you done this before? You know what I'm talking about. You know that this is a great, like he's just going back and forth. And he wants to make, it is, Hapes, they wanted to hear it. It is. He wants to know that you're paying attention. Don't have your phone out. Just listen to him. He's making sure he's talking to everybody and calling you by name. And essentially, it was 45 minutes of studies have proven that people that go, they are turned off. Yes, Hapes. Studies have proven that people that go on vacation are less prone to having heart disease. So it's basically get this vacation timeshare and it will make you live longer. He was basically saying, you know, how many days on vacation do you go a year? And how much do you spend on average per year for vacation? Now, compare that to what this costs. Whatever. So, yeah, sound effects are off. Blue Steel, how are you doing? So he tells us, I'm not going to go longer than 45 minutes. I've got a timer. And as soon as that 45 minutes is up, then we're done. And I promise you that. Like, he's just like, I promise you we will be done in 45 minutes. So I'm thinking, cool. You know, they told us 2 hours. We've already been there for like 30 minutes. Now we're like an hour and 15, whatever. So it ends. And the guy that was our salesman takes us back into the main kind of cafeteria type area where all the breakfast was. And so he sits us down and he goes, so what do you all think? I'm like, think about what? And he's just like, well, I mean, is this something that you think would be nice? I mean, would you like to do this? And we're like, I mean, sure, be great, but I'm not going to do it. Don't have the money. He's like, okay. And then he's little things here and there. He's got like a binder of when he was over in like Iraq. He's got like a binder with pictures of him in Saudi Arabia, you know, for stuff he was doing when he was in the military. And, you know, he's just like, I'm going to go do something quick. If you want to look through that, you can see. He's trying to give us stories like how his parents didn't like the idea that he was going to go be a salesman for a timeshare because, you know, they thought he was going to be scamming people. And he was like, you know, he was trying to convince his parents, look, do you really think that's who I am as a person? I'm not doing that. I know that this is something that really would bring happiness and joy to people and really think it'd be great. So, okay. So that probably lasted like 20 minutes. And then they say, all we're going to do is get on a shuttle and take the shuttle over to one of our locations. It's about 7 minutes away. And we're going to hey, Das Mueller, how you doing? We're going to take the shuttle over to one of the locations so you can see what it is that you would be buying. Yes, Redbox. So we walk into a parking garage, they get us into a shuttle, and they literally walk us in to, or they drive us over to this timeshare. So we're sitting in the shuttle. And our guy says, so Brian, what do you do? What do you do? I don't want to talk about it. I mean, I just don't want them to know anything about me. And I said, I'm a teacher. Oh, really? You're a teacher? Cool. What do you teach? Music. Oh, yeah, nice. Nice. Do you do like band or what? He was like, I was in band. He says, I was a percussionist. Oh, you were? He's like, yeah, I played tenors in high school, did marimba, four mallets, and yeah. Uh-huh. Literally like 3 minutes later, I'm showing him a video of me playing the same instrument on my Instagram. Like, it's complete opposite end. It's, don't want you to know anything too. Look what we have in common. I still know the guy was from Vincennes, Indiana. Literally, like, an hour and a half from where I live. Like, I've heard of that school. So now we've got a connection. Now we've got a bond. So shuttle makes it to the location. We go in. It's absolutely beautiful. You know it's going to be. They're going to show you the best thing they've got. I mean, this place is like, it's like a really, really nice, like, condominium, But I knew he wasn't lying. I knew he wasn't lying because the terminology he was using was stuff only percussionists know, like tenors or using four mallets on marimba. Like, most people just aren't familiar with those types of things. Most people. So, okay, we walk around the room. He's showing us everything and get back on the shuttle. We head back. We head back to Harrah's. Get out. We go back into like that cafeteria area that they had. We sit down at a table, and he says, "So what do you think?" We're like, "What do we think about what?" He's like, "I mean, is this something you think you'd want to do?" And I'm like, "Well, no. But what are we talking about? Like, what is he? How does this even work?" We explained to him, we've never done one of these before. We're really just here to learn. Like, what is this all about? Why do people want to do timeshares? There were people in that presentation that already owned timeshares. They were literally there to possibly own another. Like, there are people that really want to do it. There's also people that do this all the time for the rewards. And because of that, they don't let you do timeshare presentations more than twice a year. They only let you do it once every 6 months. Because there's people that want to do it to get the rewards, the gifts.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Ace of Spades, thank you for the sub. So much. And so we're sitting at this table, and he says, "Is this something you think you want to do?" We said, "We're here to kind of learn what the whole thing is. Kind of explain to us what's going on." I will explain to you all essentially what this is. It's something that they give you where you have access to it for 2 weeks a year. And you pay on it for like 10 to 15 to 20 years, depending on what your plan is. And once it's completely paid off, your family owns it. So if you pay it off, your kids could have access to it after you're gone, and they would get it for 2 weeks a year. But it's essentially like another mortgage. Let's say you own a home. Owning a timeshare is literally like owning another home that you only have access to 2 weeks a year. But it is, Sarge, that's who it is. That's who it is, Sarge. And they want you to do that for 20 years. And even though it's a lot of money and it's only 2 weeks, well, then after that, it's kind of free. So he is telling us, this is kind of what, it would cost monthly and how it would work. And he was like, I explained to him, I said, that sounds great and everything, but we're not going to be able to afford like another mortgage. And he was like, well, I'm doing this. We do this because we know that ultimately, our customers will be very happy with what they have. It's a great experience. And yes, it's some money, but it's something that you'll have decades down the road, whatever. So I say no. And, another mortgage for a lot of people is at least maybe $1,000 a month. I mean, at least. And, it was like $100,000 loan, essentially, that you're having to sign up for. That's crazy, Sarge. So imagine $1,000 payment, 12 months a year. That's $12,000 at 10 years. So $120,000, and that's no interest. Yeah, correct, Comic Crazy. So I'm not even talking interest rates. I'm just talking the main thing, By the way, let me look at this real quick, just to make sure. Let's see how many miles we have left. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay, so I tell him, I was like, we don't have that kind of money. We don't have the ability to do a second mortgage for something that we could do. I mean, I said we can't validate that. I mean, that wouldn't be, it just wouldn't be easy for us to, explain to our family, yeah, we're taking out another loan so we can have access to a place for 2 weeks a year. So, so he says, is this something you'd want to do? And I said, no. Mudfudja, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Yeah, Anime, I'm sure it does. And Splash, you're probably right too. You're probably right too. So I told him, we are not going to sign a credit check, and I'm not going to give you my social security number. I told him that. So he knew that in advance. And so he gets up and he goes to get the second guy to help. So that guy sits down. It's like, how's everything going? He's like, oh, buddy. And the small talk is essentially our guy telling this new guy that I'm a music teacher. And the new guy is like, oh, yeah? What do you play? Percussion. He's like, oh, yeah, I was a vocal major. Anime, you would know about vocal, right? He was like, I was a vocal major. Do you know this percussion guy? He plays here at like UNLV. He's popular guy. So now he's got a connection. He feels like he has a connection to me. I gotta land. So for about the next 10 minutes, we're explaining to him that this is not something we're gonna do. But super nice. That's their job, right? They're kind of supposed to be nice. All those buildings just disappeared. So that guy gets up and leaves. He goes to get another guy. By the way, we're at about 2.5 hours now. We're now over the 2-hour mark that they told us we would have. And this other guy sits down, and our guy tells him they said they're not going to give their social security number and they're not going to do a credit check. And the guy writes down on a piece of paper, what could you do for a monthly payment? And I said, nothing. And he wrote down, he said, most people pay around, and I think he wrote like $700 or $800. And he wrote down like $700 or $800. He was like, most people will pay something like this. He said, could you do something like that? No, I said nothing. He crosses it out, and he writes 70. GG Devious Fusion, and that should have been Walk Ninja's win, by the way. GG Devious Fusion. Speaking of 70, so he writes down 70, and he goes, could you do this? He said, could you do this? And I said, no. He looks at our guy, does kind of one of these, don't worry about it kind of motions. Kind of does that, and gets up and leaves. He's basically telling our guy, they're done, stop wasting your time. Because we're sticking to our guns. And so he's done. we get up and we walk to get ready to check out. And they sit us at another table. And they say, and so they sit us at a table, and this lady sits down. This lady sits down. And she's got a piece of paper that she's filling out. And she goes, and it was basically a, did they ask you this? Did they ask you this? Did they ask you this? She's like the final check of everything. Did they offer this? Did they do this? Did they do this? And you're sure you don't want to do it? No, we don't want to do it. So, okay. So we get in line where people are checking out, and I was still a little paranoid. Yeah, you're right. It was the Final Boss anime. I was still a little paranoid that they were going to try to screw us. Like, they were going to try to say something like, well, you don't get your stuff because whatever. Because you didn't do something, or because we don't have them. You know, something stupid. And we got it. We got the stuff. Hey, Bill, how are you doing? But here's the thing. When they gave us the buffet tickets, that was fine. And when they gave us the high roller tickets, that was fine. But when they gave us the Cirque du Soleil tickets, they weren't tickets, they were vouchers for tickets. Which meant we had to take these vouchers to Treasure Island, where the Cirque du Soleil show was, and use the vouchers to select what seats we wanted. But we needed to do that sooner than later so we could get better seats. So we decided, well, we're going to go to this Cirque show like tomorrow, but we're going to go now and get these tickets. So we walk to Treasure Island, we show them our vouchers, and they show us like a diagram of the auditorium. And there's like a little colored section in the top left corner and says, you can choose from anything in this area. It was kind of like the scene from The Jerk. If you remember the scene from The Jerk where Steve Martin's trying to explain what toys they can win, and like it's all those shelves of toys, and he goes, you get anything from this shelf below, and anything over here, just these two, you get a choice of a pencil eraser and a rubber ball or whatever. Hey, Bill, sound effects are off for a second. You can play that in a second, okay? I'll turn them on in a minute. So that was essentially what our choices were for our seats. So whatever. We're in for free, whatever. So when we came back the next night, they only sold about, I would say they sold a third of the auditorium seating. I mean, not many people were going to watch it. And this was a few years ago, okay? So when we walked up to the usher to show us where our seat was, we showed him the tickets that we had, and he said, follow me. And he takes us down like 15 rows from the stage in the middle. And I'm like, we are getting the royal freaking treatment. And then I realized they were doing that to everybody because they didn't want people sitting up in the rafters with a ton of empty seats down low. So they were just bringing everybody down. So it didn't matter where our seats were. It didn't matter. By the way, I've told the story before about my wife not really remembering how we got to that Cirque du Soleil show. If you remember that part. If you remember me telling that story, you now know the time that we went. She, about halfway through that Cirque show, realized where she was. She'd had a long day. And yeah, and so anime, we did the buffet at Treasure Island. It wasn't very good, but it was free, so be it. We went on the high roller. The high roller had people, I think, getting sick, and so it let us like stay up on the high roller for longer than normal because they kept having to like reverse the rotation of it to let people off. So yes, It worked. Now, I'm going to give you a pro tip. If you decide that you want to do, I'm just making sure. Hold on. I got to make sure I don't have any airports coming up. Let me look here. Just got to make sure. Okay, good. 45 miles. Okay. So if you go to Vegas or anywhere with a timeshare, I'm going to give you my pro tip on how to make timeshare people in the casinos ignore you. Because they will hassle you if they see you coming. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay, there is one but. There was a reason when we walked into the timeshare presentation that morning that they were all couples. Timeshare people only target couples because they have more money, typically. They want to have two people sign on those loans. So if you are walking by a timeshare rep on the floor of a casino or wherever you are, have your significant other walk about 20 feet away from you. That's all you have to do. I have literally stood next to timeshare people, just stood next to them, wanting them to focus on me. Like, witness me! Witness me! That's what I want them to do. Well, they don't. They don't even know you exist. But don't walk too close, because that 20 feet, if it's like 7 feet, there was one time where, because every time we get close, every time we know we're close to somebody, we'll be like, hey, let's, you ready? Stay back there. Let me go forward. Let me go first. Because we don't want them, I don't like dealing with them. We don't even like talking to them. I was walking in the Flamingo, and my wife was about 7 feet or so behind me. And the timeshare guy said something to me. And I said, I'm sorry. And he goes, got a minute to talk? And I said, no thanks. And then I can't remember, he said something else. And then he looked at my wife, who was walking like 7 feet behind me, and he said, aren't you all together? And I said, no. Why would you think that? He's like, I'm sorry. He took a chance. But normally, they will not mess with you. Yeah, so big beefcake. It is. So access them, you can. But if you've never been asked by them, you can't just say no. If you just say no, they will always follow up with at least one more question. And they will follow you. My wife had a timeshare person actually follow her for about 20 feet and kept tapping her on the shoulder. So it's not always just being able to say no. And it is Jado, you're right. So they are very, very aggressive. So now brace yourself, you ask a good question. Would I do it again for the freebies? And yes, it was in a casino. It was in the Flamingo bill. I know Hapes, I know. My wife wasn't happy. So would I do it again for the freebies? And the answer is no. The answer is no, because the freebies honestly weren't that great. They were for the first time, but I wouldn't do it again. The buffet wasn't that great. Once you've done the high roller Ferris wheel, you really don't need to do it again. The Cirque du Soleil show is very good, but we've seen it before now. So, if the freebies were different, but I gotta say, it's pretty stressful. Like, it's not just dealing with a presentation for 2 hours. It's dealing with the constant stress and anxiety of having to not really try to piss somebody off. Could see Kramer going for the buffet and start working as a salesman without being hired by them. Yeah, well, I don't really even work here. That's what makes this so difficult. I would just stop, turn, and start tapping them on the shoulder and say nothing. Yeah. No, it is. It is off-sked descent. It's very, very high pressure. I still say when I saw... So what's funny is when I saw the salesman and I said he looked like he could have been a student of mine, and he literally was a percussionist in the state next to mine, it was so crazy that he literally could have been a student of mine. What happens if you piss them off? Well, you don't get your stuff. You don't get your stuff and you leave. If they can ask you to leave. It's their world, and you're just living in it. It's literally something that, you know, if you get out your phone during the presentation, they'll ask you to leave. If you laugh at something that's not funny, they can ask you to leave. And John's right, they've already got your $40. You had to pay $40, $20 per person to even get to go to the timeshare. And I'm curious, like the guy that ended up kind of hooking us when we first walked into that casino floor, when he was like, "Are you looking for the elevators?" I'm still curious, those people, if someone that they snagged actually signs up for a timeshare, how much do they get? What's their commission? I wonder, like, I know the salesman gets commission, and I know the big boss gets commission, and everybody gets a piece, but the main person that snagged you to just get your foot in the door, to have you pay the $40, I want to know what their commission is. When you got sucked into this, you didn't have to pay. Well, again, we knew that if we paid $40 and we were going to get over $300 worth of gifts, it was worth it. And you know what? It still was. It still was worth it. How long y'all in town for? Oh, I left yesterday. And I think we did do that, didn't we, OJ? Yeah, we've already left. Spoiler alert, the presentation was actually free. That was the guy's secret cut. Actually, that wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me. So that's the timeshare story. So I'll have to create a highlight of it. If anybody ever wants to watch the timeshare story, I'll create a highlight where it has its own video link. Banana Man, how are you doing? We are in Brazil. We've been doing a 2-week trip so far in South America from the southern tip of Chile, and it's probably going to take another, it could maybe be like another 6 weeks to get all the way to the northernmost airport in the world. Thank you for the follow, Banana Man. Off-sked descent, this is the Seneca, Coronado Seneca. This is in the marketplace. So you're expecting me to come out of this story with a timeshare? So no, it was not. It was not something we knew that we weren't going to get one, and I had done enough research beforehand that night where they just said, just say no, just say no. They said they will give you your gifts. By the way, for those that think it's a scam, it's not a scam. I am telling you, it's not a scam. A scam is when you don't know what you're going to pay or you get nothing out of it. They will tell you exactly what you're going to pay, and you will know what you're going to get out of it. It's just a shitty deal. But a scam is literally supposed to rip you off and you get nothing in return. It's not a scam. It's just a shitty deal. People that go into that know exactly what they're getting. And there's a reason people do it voluntarily. You're welcome, OJ. Thanks for sticking around. Good luck next week, but not really. Yeah, Banana Man, welcome. Glad you're here. Yeah, we're going to be doing this kind of plane probably for the next 6 weeks or so. Next airport is SBJP in 18 miles. So we do touch and goes on these trips, and we've got only 2 more touch and goes. But there's a lot of time between some of these airports. In fact, 17. So we've got about 75 miles after this airport before the next one. So SBJP. Let's do that. 18 Okay, let me get... I was hand flying that whole route. I wasn't doing any autopilot for that. I get scammed every time I go into a Best Buy and buy something. One of our pilots has a timeshare in Aruba, and she loves it. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. There are people that really, really love their timeshares. They like knowing that when they go on vacation, they have a great place to stay, and it's already paid for. I mean, it is. It's already paid for. It's just you won't really, really reap the benefits until 10 to 20 years down the road when the loan is paid off. But you still have to pay those maintenance fees, like, all the time. Yes, off-sched descent. It is. It is. This is the 750, the GTN 750. Let me just say, it's awesome. It's free, but if you pay like $25 for a year, you have access to like weather, you have access to terrain, but the biggest one is you have access to charts, depending on the airport. So let's say you're going to like Innsbruck, and you want to select a chart from, let's say you want to do this one. The fact that you can access everything in this is real. And you also need the NavGraph subscription. That's right, Walk Ninja's right. There's a lot of things you need, but the fact that it works, you know, you pay for it, but it all works really, really well. So, this is a great thing, and I love that it has its own like descent timer, which for me is great because I'm not always paying attention. Like SBJP, just go in here, pick that waypoint off the list. There it is, and then it will tell you when you need to start descending and what vertical speed will be required. It does not. No, Bill. Sirius does not work on it. No. No. Catching up. I have that add-on on P3D for the Lear 35. However, it wasn't free. Well, it's free for the basic model, but it's pay if you want the good stuff. Timeshare is essentially a hotel you pay for every month without any room service and only get to use it for 2 weeks. Yep, that's right, John. However, John, I will tell you. Let me just tell you. I wish I had taken pictures, but the timeshare was at the like Wyndham Grand or something, whatever that was in Vegas. I mean, it was super nice. It was like being in like a 5-star hotel. It was super nice. Now, not all of them are going to be like that, but still super nice. So, Banana Man, I'm on PC. I have heard the only way it'll come out on Xbox One is if they do it like through cloud. Is that right? Xbox Cloud? Because it doesn't have the ability to play it with its hardware. Well, but so Glegor, here's the thing though. Here's the thing I knew. When he offered that $70, first of all, that was a joke. Like, I knew what he was trying to do was to get me to sign up, and maybe like my first 6 months would be at 70, and then it would just skyrocket. I wasn't even interested because it's just not going to happen. No one's going to pay $70 a month on a $100,000 loan, you know? So when he offered that, it was just not worth it. I knew that what he was going to try to do would be like, okay, $70 a month, that's great. That's your first 6 months. After that, it's going to be like $1,500. You know? So I was like, no. That's why I just said no. Just no. Zion, that is the orange dreamsicle of Rain. R-E-I-G-N. It's my favorite. Orange dreamsicle. 26 couples paying for one place. You got it, Jado. There's a reason. There is a reason that they are doing that so aggressively. Yeah, Blue Yonder, I just told it. By the way, I'm going to turn my sound effects back on. I turned them off. Sound effects are on. So, Welcome back, everybody.
Je suis le président de Burundi.
Welcome, Hapes. No, you know what, Zion? The couple of Bang energy drinks I've had have been way too sweet. Boom, boom. Oh, Sarge. Close, Sarge. You got sniped. Can only have one sound effect at once. Yeah, Zion, I think the Bang energy drinks are way too sweet. Like, I think I had, like, the cotton candy one. I mean, it was like drinking a Skittles. They're sugar-free, though? Well, these are, too. The ones I'm drinking are sugar-free. Actually, that's not true. Or is it? Yeah, it is 0. 0 sugar per can. I thought it was. Well, and Stevie, you're right. Some people really like to spend time in their hotels. Their presentation was basically trying to be like, you know, if you're already going to spend, like honestly, how much money do you spend a year on vacation? Well, my family, not a lot, because, we don't have the ability, not just financially, but just time-wise. GG Rally Snail.